Hey, what's up, you guys? My name is Josh. Welcome back to another video. And today we're going to be talking more about Hasbro and how they honestly, I feel like, again, I said it before, but I feel like that with this whole situation going on with Hasbro, whether it's the plastic free packaging, the whole Ghost Rider ordeal, and now up to our newest one, we're going to be talking about a certain Marvel character named Mojo, who's supposed to be an X-Men villain. Mojo first appeared in 1985, right? I want to make sure I get that right. I don't want to piss anybody off, all right? 1985's Long Shot issue number 3. And not too long ago, well, I want to say maybe, I can't really say exactly how long, but basically Hasbro was doing like a pre-order with like this 4-pack called the Mojo's World, the X-Men's Mojo's World, where he would be part of it, and then they would add like 2 other X-Men characters who, I'll be honest, I don't really know who they are. And it includes Wolverine, but it's like a weird, tiny little like cartoony Wolverine, you know? So I'm like, was that part of the storyline? Like, is that a thing in the comic books? Did the X-Men ran into like a weird kind of like cartoony Wolverine at some point? Kind of like Batmite from Batman, if you guys get what I mean. I don't know. That's not what I'm talking about here. What I'm talking about is that basically Hasbro did like this deluxe pack that you could order online, whether it's through their website, the Hasbro Pulse, or through Amazon. And if my memory serves me correct, I believe it was like $131.99 or something like that. It could be more, obviously, you know, depending on like the shipping and all that. So that might not be exactly accurate. So the whole point is that it's a pretty expensive pack. And in case you're wondering, Josh, who the hell even is Mojo? Well, all you need to know is that he's just a big fat like mutant with like a scorpion tail and some spider legs. That's all you need to know about him, if I'm being honest with you. And basically, he's like, I don't know. I don't want to say he reminds me of Blob, because I know like Blob, his whole superpower was that he was basically fat, but it wasn't like an annoyance or like a hindrance to him. It was more of like he used it to his ability. That was like his superpower. So you're probably thinking, so Josh, what happened now? What did Hasbro do this time to want to warrant making another video talking about him? Well, because recently, I think like few days now or so, at Target stores, out of nowhere, a deluxe Mojo pack started appearing out of nowhere. So basically, it's just him. You know, it's just him alone and not the other members, basically. And it's cost like $41.99 around there because it's a deluxe pack. He's a pretty big guy, not counting like the how wide he is, and considering that he's pretty much a fat bastard. Let's be honest here. And he got the giant bionic tail. If you want to count that, because it kind of goes around. The figure's basically around the 8-inch mark. So yeah, he's a pretty tall figure. So there's definitely a lot going on. So you're probably thinking, starting to catch on a little bit where I'm getting at. Basically, what happened was that maybe this is not for every single particular fan that want to get this figure, but I've definitely seen some people complain where, okay, let's say they only bought the pack because they want Mojo, just him alone. Maybe they don't care about the other X-Men figures, right? Maybe they can like sell them or give them to a friend, right? Maybe they only want the pack because they want Mojo. Okay, whatever. You know, I mean, I can't really see why you would want to pay so much money for that, but I would imagine, you know, because obviously that's the only time you're really going to get them. And from well, you guys know I always try to do my research, so I hope I'm correct on this, because I know when Toy Biz used to do Marvel Legends figures, they actually did a Build-A-Figure wave of Mojo where you got to get a whole bunch of figures just to complete them. And the most funniest thing, though, if you buy Falcon, I believe it was Falcon. No, it was Falcon. Yeah. He comes with Mojo's gut, like his big fat stomach. That's actually a separate piece that you need to buy. That's just hilarious. And as for the other pieces, I know Boron Zemo. I know he was the one that if you need to buy like the top half, you know. So yeah, that's interesting. But the thing is, though, that was like, I think 2004, if I remember correctly, because the Marvel Legends toy line started in 2002. And that specific Build-A-Figure wave, I'm pretty sure it did came out in 2004, but I could be wrong. Look, there's a lot of numbers I gotta remember here. Okay, so I really hope I don't get so many things messed up, because the reason why people are upset, it's because basically for those people who only wanted Mojo, they're upset because now out of nowhere, this figure went completely off the radar. Nobody even knew that this figure was going to get a release in stores. Now all of a sudden they're releasing. If you just want to buy Mojo by himself, there you go. You could go at your local Target, and he's already coming out too. I've already seen plenty of people review him. There's leaked images online, and yeah, it comes as a shock because Hasbro didn't announce this figure. They didn't announce that Mojo was gonna just get his own separate his own separate pack. I mean, well, a deluxe figure, that is, because yeah, Marvel Legends, they do stuff like that from time to time, with their deluxe figures. For an example, the Thor Ragnarok figure, it's basically the exact same thing, the exact same figure as like the classic Thor, with the only difference is that he got like a new head and some new accessories, because it's meant to be like a fake bionic Thor created by Iron Man. I know that's a whole other comic book series all on its own, but the point that I'm trying to make here is, at least when it comes to stuff like that, people were aware. They knew. You know what I mean? Like, those figures were going to come out. Mojo, nobody knew that he was going to get his own separate pack. So the point that I'm trying to make is that basically people are upset that they had to spend nearly hundreds of dollars for this 4-pack, even though they only want Mojo. But now all of a sudden, now Hasbro decides, okay, let's take that one figure and let's just sell it in stores by himself for a cheaper price. So it's like, oh, okay, so I could have just bought that version instead of just buying this other version, so that way it can actually save me money. And it's kind of ironic too, considering that obviously with the price hikes that Hasbro's been doing lately, and obviously people are not pretty happy about that, especially with the whole free plastic-free packaging ordeal. Because yes, this Mojo figure also has its own box with no plastic in it. So just thought I kind of point that out, just in case you want to go out and buy him. I'm just saying, just so I point that information out there. And I'm gonna kind of show you on my phone, just to show you some a little bit more stuff about the figure, because there's actually a couple of things that I need to point out that I think it's pretty important for the most part. So I'm just saying, and the thing with the prices too that I want to add on, where originally, if you want to buy just one figure, it would have cost you like $19.99, but due to with like the pandemic and then inflation, it went up to around $23.99 or so. Okay, fine, whatever. But out of nowhere, ever since they started to do this new trend of plastic-free packaging, you would think that now the figures be much more cheaper, because now they don't got to use any more materials. They're not going to use any more plastic. But no, the figures actually went up to $27.99. So you're basically paying more for less, because it's not like the quality is any different. Not to mention that some of these figures basically reuse the same body molds anyway. So for an example, I forgot who the original figure was, but the Future Foundation Spider-Man in his stealth suit, apparently that sculpt, that mold, is actually a reuse of a previous Marvel figure, which I unfortunately don't remember who it was, but it was still, obviously people don't really like stuff like that, but we're kind of stuck with that, you know what I mean? Because Hasbro is very infamous for kind of releasing newer figures, but with like same body molds, which is a huge bummer. Obviously, we would like to see something new, but that's a whole other issue in and of its own. The point that I'm trying to make is, when it comes to these deluxe packs, I would assume they would be around like the 30s, because I know that the Thor Ragnar figure costs like $34.99. That's how much it costs. And I don't know, not counting inflation, I don't really know exactly how much it would be, but I would say maybe around $30 or so, maybe. So this new Mojo pack is like $41.99. But he is a pretty huge figure. He's thick, there's parts that you definitely got to attach. I've seen some reviews already where there is some assembly required, so there's a lot more to it. So even though it costs $41.99, I think the price range in that situation kind of makes a little sense, but let's go back and talk about that previous box set, the one that everybody pretty much pre-ordered online, because that's the thing. This thing's been out for a while, and from what I've seen, the orders don't start to ship until December. So, okay, that's another thing to add on to that. So let me show you the pack that I'm talking about, right? So this is on the Hasbro Pulse website. As you can see, if I can actually get this right. Yeah, so that's the 4-pack in question that comes with Mojo. I told you he was a big fat dude. I told you. Look how thick he is. And of course, compared to the other figures, there's that weird Wolverine that I was telling you about. So on their website, it says that it costs $131.99, limits 2 per customer. Okay, yeah, that's fair, because of You don't want to run out the product, you know. And from here it says that it pre-order item will be available to ship on approx December 1st, 2022. So yeah, this year. So you got that kind of going on. But like I said, you know, if you're one of those people that only really wanted Mojo, obviously you kind of got screwed because now they're releasing just a separate version of Mojo. These are the leaked pictures. Well, I shouldn't really say leaked because now people are starting to find more of them. Some people found them like in those boxes and all that, and from the vendors. So you got that going on. So of course, this is the separate pack, of course, that I was talking to you about. You know, that's just if you want to just buy him and him alone. And of course, like I mentioned, he comes in that plastic-free packaging, so he comes in that little box, you know. And yeah. So let's go over one last thing that I definitely feel like is important to note. And I do apologize for that. I don't know why my laptop wanted to fall off. Listen, I got like boxes holding on to this, okay? So I do apologize. This is quite amateur. So let me just, so I can move on. Well, I hope this thing doesn't fall again. Well, I pretty much made some of my points already. I'm just going to point out at least one last aspect of it, and it's with the detailing. This will definitely upset some fans for sure, because oddly, the 4-pack, you know, the Mojo in that 4-pack is actually more detailed than the one that's coming out in retail stores. So it's like, okay, that's even more weirder. So not only are you basically paying more for this figure that I definitely could have gotten cheaper if I just bought it in stores, but now all of a sudden this version has a lot more detail and better paint than this initial release does. So it's like, okay, what's going on here now? Because that version, the details like within like the wires and all that, he got more paint. You know, he even got like freaking like spots all over him or so. You know, different color palette sort of in a way with his skin color. So obviously, if you look at this other version that is in Target stores, it's the same sculpt with some different paint apps, but obviously the 4-pack version has more detail. So it's like, okay, shoot me, please, because it's like, really? So it's like, all right. Now you were really screwed for sure. So I honestly I feel so bad. And normally in a situation like that, actually, you know what? Hold up. Let me see if I could let me straighten it out. All right, let's continue. So normally in situations like these, obviously you would think that maybe fans were being like a bit petty or so. Maybe they would kind of, you know, like for an example, let's just say both versions of the figure was announced. So it's like, okay, do I want to pay more for just this 4-pack, even though I only want Mojo, or do I just buy this other version, right? But in this situation, I feel like it's definitely like I definitely you have to side with the people that are upset in the situation, because like I say, there was no news about this separate release. Nobody knew that it was even gonna come out. There's no codes. There's no like like numbers that you gotta like tap in and look for or anything like that. This was a completely unannounced figure. Nobody knew was going to come out, and I feel like in some ways I think rightfully so, people are pretty pissed. And like I say, I can't help but kind of agree a little bit to an extent, because I hate to pay so much money just because I want only that one particular figure. And before I kind of end the video, I know you're thinking, Josh, don't shit on my favorite X-Men heroes. Why would you do that? Because I don't really know the other two characters that are in the pack. And look, I'm not trying to like throw shade at them or anything like that. They look decent enough, all right? And you know, I'm not trying to like talk shit about them or anything like that. I just don't know the character, so it's like I don't really have much to say about it. I just really wanted to focus more on Mojo, because I feel like it's definitely a weird decision to make. You know, and that's not even counting the other issue, which I'm going to talk about in a separate video, where the whole like shipping crisis that's been going on since the pandemic, now it's no longer an issue. Now we're starting to get things coming in, but now we're starting to get like overstock. So stuff that's supposed to come out later, it's actually coming out earlier than expected. And obviously, it's actually become a pretty huge issue, and it's become so big of course, that needs a separate video. I can't really just kind of shove two conversations in at once. I could, but I want to keep it more consistent. You know what I mean? Let's talk about one thing at a time before we all explode. Because I literally just uploaded a toy review today for the Ultra Monster series. I did the review on Bolton, the weird 4D kaiju. And my next review that I'm going to do is going to be for Arobus or whatever you say his name. As you can see, this is the figure that's going to get the review next. You know, just thought I kind of let you guys know what I'm going to do. And you're probably wondering, so Josh, since you've been talking about this, right? Do I plan on buying Mojo? I don't know. If I'm being honest with you, I like the character and he looks interesting, but how much do I want it? Do I really want it to really? Is it worth the money? It's hard to say really. So I'll leave it as a question mark for sure. We'll leave that as a maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Plus, in all honesty, I've been in a more of an Ultraman mood lately, so I've been mostly buying that type of stuff lately, you know, and yeah, that's sort of kind of my focus right now. Not exactly, obviously. I'm gonna continue uploading the rest of the Doom gameplays. I'll make sure I'll get that toy review out, you know. And yeah, we'll definitely talk more about this because I feel like with Hasbro, I don't know, man. Lately, it's been nothing but negativity with this company, so I don't know. I hope things get better, you know, because it's just a shame. They have a nice like whole history of making these figures, and a lot of them are really nice. And I feel like to a certain extent, they have kind of improved on some of their stuff because they're definitely much more nicer quality. I mean, look at the Spider-Man figures. The Spider-Man figures are great. I'm still looking for that damn, I forgot what that's called. The original classic Spider-Man. Amazing Fantasy, right? That's what it's called, right? Yeah, I'm still hoping that comes into stores pretty soon. That's a really nice one to have. So yeah, until then, I'm gonna end the video here. That's about it. So you know, I don't think this whole Mojo situation will continue. You know, this is probably something that will pass. But obviously, that's gonna hurt Hasbro a lot because of the stuff they've been doing lately. It's like, is it even worth it at this point investing? Which sucks because I just recently got into Marvel Legends, so it's like, huh, you know, it's like, wow, I don't want to stop. You know, they got some good stuff, but at the same time, if they're gonna keep pulling shit like this, is it even worth it? So I don't know. We'll see about that. Well, we'll leave it at a bit of a question mark right there. So until then, hope you guys enjoyed the video. You know, leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed. You know, dislike the video if you dislike it. You know, listen, you could dislike things for any reason. All right, it's not gonna hurt me. All right, I'm thick skinned, sort of. All right, so I can take it. So yeah, that's about it. See ya.